Welcome to another episode of RCUW-TV, where we interview partner agencies and individuals making a difference in our community. And today, our guest is Brian Springberg with Springberg McAndrew.
Hello.
How are you today?
Great.
So Brian, I wanted to ask you, why do you do what you do for our community?
You mean, well, volunteer work-wise, I've always been somebody who, I felt something inside of me, I guess, to always try to want to help, and make things better. And I've always thought if you were in a position to do that, meaning that if you had the know-how, or thought you had the know-how, I guess, or the means or the influence or whatever it is, not doing that, is something that just never sat comfortable with me. There's all kinds of sayings out there. And, one of the things that's always resonated with me is that when you think about, the people who see wrong in the world and are silent, there's, Elie Wiesel from the Holocaust and et cetera. Mm-hmm. It's those who know better and keep silent who are the bigger offenders than those who don't know better or are the offenders, because that's how positive things don't move forward. And so in Lake Havasu, this is a town where my family moved here in 1973. And
wow.
Forever ago. And
so you've grown up here?
I grew up here. This was the Wild West, and I loved it. And my sense of freedom and just how I love the outdoors and all that emanated from growing up. Basically, when you went to a friend's house, you would ride your dirt bike across town, and so when I went away to college, and then I went and worked on the East Coast for a while, and then came back into the family business to give it a try. I just thought that there were things that I was passionate about that maybe I could get more involved with and help. Rotary was one avenue that, because Rotary International is a phenomenal organization.
Yes, it is.
They raise a tremendous amount of money, and 100% of what they raise gets actually distributed to charity. And then from there, I got involved in the JCs, which was the Junior Business Leaders, so it was young business people. And we organized that, and actually in our first year in town, we were the Club of the Year in Arizona.
Yay.
And that was, we did all kinds of, charitable works. I don't remember being brought up and told to be this way, although my mom was very active. She started Havasu for Youth and the Project Graduation.
See, that's something I didn't know.
She was started on that board, Cancer Association of Havasu. So she was on a number of boards in that way, and so I saw that, I guess. My dad was working, but he did, we sponsored, I've got plaques of Springberg Financial Group Investment Insurance Designers from 1973, sponsoring a T-ball team. As my dad, in a tie, but wearing a hat, short 70s tie, but wearing a hat. And so I think that all kind of filled in the blanks for me to do it. Why do I do it? I just am somebody who wants to see the world become a better place, and I think there are things that I can do, to help that.
And to make a difference.
And to make a difference. And the beauty for me is that my kids have absorbed that as well. My daughter has been in charity and passionate. She's 24 now. Actually works for a company that raises money for nonprofit agencies to raise money for health issues and children, et cetera, in the Seattle area. Is
it United Way?
No.
It sounds a lot like it.
And then, both my kids have been to Mexico, deep Mexico, outside Mexico City, to put together wheelchairs for people. So I don't know. I just think it's, in the end,
Do you think there's a uniqueness to this community here that kind of brings out the collaboration and working together?
I think most small communities, I'd like to think, in America are similar to us in the way, I mean, in other words, are we better? Are we worse? Are we the same? I don't know, but I like to think a lot of small communities have it within them to come together. And Havasu has been known as being one of the more generous communities around. Anytime money has been needed with anything I've been involved with, it has not been a problem getting that money raised. I mean, the car door show that I put on with Dustin Otterbach and well, soon to be Karen Otterbach, we raised $27,000.
Wow.
First, just working hard, and that was because corporations gave money, and that money we gave to the school district specifically for the arts and music programs that had their funding cut, that we felt strongly would be, something that helps round out a good child. Some kids, academics are not their thing, so how can we support that? So anytime there's a little niche that I can get involved with, I want to do it.
Absolutely. So the COVID struck, and it's kind of hit our community pretty hard.
Yeah.
We started seeing businesses close. We started seeing people in need.
Yeah.
Definitely there was that piece where stimulus checks were coming out and everything, but they weren't coming out in time. And so RCUW, stepped in and said, hey, there's a gap we need to fill in between that to help make sure. So the eviction, they weren't being able to evict these people, which was a good thing. However, by the time that they would be able to catch up on their rent, they would be so high that they were facing eviction inevitably. So we started working together with the Lake Havasu Resource Alliance, and you heard about us and you came forward and you donated $5,000 to the COVID-19 fund. What compelled you to reach out?
Well, Mike McAndrew and I, my business partner, I said, what is it that we want to do? And he and I would talk about how we can help. And there was different avenues that people were doing, but there was nothing that we really saw that was maybe as organized, or maybe just we felt was going to really go to where we thought there might be some need. And we also thought that, unfortunately, there's going to be plenty of time where things were going to get maybe even worse. And so the first thing that I did was I reached out to the Hospitality Association. I'm a member, but I'm not involved at all. And I just said, well, what are you guys doing to help all the restaurant and service employees out there? And they had been underway in their board and some things. And so actually just had some conversation about maybe things to do, and they did a phenomenal job helping them out with gift cards and that kind of thing. But we didn't get involved financially with that. And then when we saw the Resource Alliance, Mike and I kind of saw, all right, you've got the city, you've got the Havasu Community Health Foundation, you've got, of course, United Way running it and leading it. And so we knew that there were going to be...
well, the city's leading it.
City's leading it?
We are just the management of funds and the accountability of that.
But,
But then we had the Better Business Bureau,
The Better Business, but the accountability of it is really what I was concerned about. In other words, whenever you give money to charity, you do it from your heart, but it doesn't mean that you're not paying attention to, are the people who really need it getting it? Are the people who don't really need it, are they getting it? And so you need somebody there minding the store, and with United Way and these other entities involved. So we talked about it, and we thought this has to be the place to do it, because they're the ones with checks and balances. They're the ones who are really going to make sure that money is going to the right places. And so that's how we arrived at the decision to go ahead and give money, because you were able to ascertain need from individuals and the business community, at the same time.
Yeah.
And it seems to have been fantastic.
It has been working phenomenal. And I can't tell you how many people. We've helped over 150 people so far.
Awesome.
We've helped over 30 businesses, and it's still coming in.
Yeah.
It's still coming in. Your contribution hasn't just been to us. You have done some other things in our community to make a difference. And part of that is the hospital. So what did you do for the hospital employees?
So frontline service workers, right?
Yeah.
You know, your heart goes out to so many different places, right? You know, there's more stress on police, fire, teachers, God knows nowadays, and certainly hospital employees. And so we we reached out to a hospital to find out, well, how many employees do you have, and what if we just gave them, you know, coffee cards? And so we did that, and then we realized we needed more. So we reached out to the Baumkirchners, who own Human Bean, and they chipped in for part of what we gave. And so between Springberg McAndrew Financial and insurance and Human Bean, we were able to donate hundreds of coffee cards at $5 a pop. And in the end, I don't remember, it's maybe 250 cards.
Wow.
That we gave. So, and it's nothing that's going to change anybody's lives or make them feel safer or whatever, but, you know, to be recognized that you're maybe under more stress than most of us during this COVID situation, and your health isn't more risk, and, you know, you've got other concerns than you and I. You know, here we are, you know, whatever, 6 feet apart, feeling pretty comfortable, but imagine if you were constantly, intentionally putting yourself in harm's way. It's nice to know that people recognize that, and if it, you know, and if you get a, you know, skinny vanilla latte out of the deal, that's not the big deal. It's just that knowing that people recognize and care.
And they care. And that's the biggest thing about Havasu is I believe that our community really does come together and shows how much we really care about our community and our people in our community. It's not just one entity. It's not just the people who are, you know, falling short during this time. It's all the people who are dealing with this through the whole process. There's
no question. There are businesses as a result of this horrible thing this year that have profited as a result of it. You know, real estate, development, to point out the obvious, right? People moving from bigger cities to get to a smaller town. Havasu's real estate values and construction, all that has exploded as a direct result of that. Then there are businesses like mine that it's really not been one way or the other. We've been able to manage it, and we're unaffected, meaning we're not prospering, but we're also not suffering.
Right.
And then there's those businesses that have really taken a very, very hard hit. And so I also look at it as, well, we're still doing fine. Why wouldn't we try to help those just by the nature of what they do for a living? Have been much harder hit than us to step up to the plate, so to speak. And that's what you do, I think. And that's what Havasu does and needs to continue to do, and always has. I like you said, we're a very generous community, and
we really are.
I really don't remember a time where we haven't been. Yeah.
Which is a perfect segue to my final question.
Okay.
What would this community look like if we didn't have our local nonprofit programs or those iconic businesses that have been here for years?
Yeah, well, interesting question. So what happens is that, you know, I think small communities have to find ways to support each other, right? And then from there it branches out the way we're structured, I guess, county, state.
Because we have lack of resources,
you know, et cetera. And so how much knowledge does the federal government have on how to help Lake Havasu City, I guess? How much does the state government have on its knowledge to help Lake Havasu City? By the time you trickle down to the county, we really are the ones who know ourselves best and therefore able to help ourselves best. So if you don't have organizations out there that of local insight and control of the money, because like I said, I'm all for charity and always have been, both with my money and my time, but I want to feel that it's being directed in the right place and that it's being efficient and that there's not the wrong things happening. And that happens sometimes anyway, but that's just the way, human nature, unfortunately, it rears its ugly head. But the vast majority of the time, the good people are doing good things. And so without that, there's no mechanism for those controls, I don't think, for that quality control, for making sure money's being spent in the right places and to the right people. And so if you take that away, then there's really nothing organized structurally to do that. And then,
But if these programs were gone, I'm talking from mile markers to, helping our senior level, to helping our homeless, to helping, we have tons of programs out there that are being touched and supported.
Then obviously, we would suffer as a society. It's indicative of, what kind of people we are in terms of helping those most in need. And
we do that. That's kind of the all around how we kind of work.
Yeah, and that's how I am.
Whether it's the school system and the programs that come out of the school to help, whether it's the art or the music, or it's the school lunches, or it's, those kids that don't have shirts. All that stuff comes from somewhere. And it's really all the people behind the scene. And I know there's not enough credit for all of the different programs that do that stuff, but there's a lot of stuff.
A lot of tremendous stuff. And my kids were always instructed from day one that the day I find out that they have teased, bullied, ridiculed anybody smaller, less, capable, less academically focused, anybody who, doesn't necessarily have what they have or the abilities they have, they will find themselves in huge trouble. I don't care if you want to pick on the bigger kid. I don't care if you want to pick on the smarter kid. I don't care. But anybody that needs the help up in this world through no fault of their own, and they're born into a situation, is who you reach out to and help. And there are people from COVID, no fault of their own, terrible situation. There are children subject to abuse, no fault of their own,
born with
domestic violence, teachers, struggling, going, okay, we want to go to school, but we're worried about our health, and we got our own kids at home, and all these people out there. And so I think we have to always have organizations that reach out to people who are most in need. And you don't judge, I at least don't judge people on how they treat me. Because I feel that if they're treating me a certain way, other than close friends, right? But acquaintances, I don't know why they're treating me that way. Maybe they think I'm a community leader. Maybe they think I know people and they don't want to, I look at people, how do they treat people who are, don't have the same economic means that they have, or aren't in the same position as they have? And that tells you everything to know. And same with the city and a community, is how do you treat the lowest of your society? And historically, for thousands of years, every society has really been judged in history by how you do that and how you treat it. And Havasu, you'd like to think, would be judged pretty darn well.
That was the most amazing answer that I've gotten so far. Thank you, Brian.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you. Okay, you can stop it.
I'm gonna say, if you'd like to like and subscribe and all that good stuff.
No, I'm gonna let you come in and say that little piece.
All right.